I am delighted to welcome to the First Time Facilitator podcast all the way in Toronto, Mark Bowden. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
That's great to be here. Thanks for having me all the way from Toronto to you in Australia.
I know, from the comfort.
And to your listeners, viewers all over the world.
Yeah. Oh, absolute pleasure. You have a really interesting career. Like, I don't even know how to get started on this, but I was wondering if you could share with our listeners, I mean, a bit about what you do now, but some of the crazy stuff that you've done in the past and how that's got you to where you are today. It's an unreal story, just looking at what you've done.
So I started off as a kid being really obsessed with animal behavior, the natural world, then human behavior. I was very into how pictures tell stories. I started off in visual art, really, and then went from visual art into theatre arts and film arts and TV arts. Again, it was really about how do you tell stories with pictures. I worked for many years as a performer myself and training other performers, again, all over the world, and very specifically in how they should tell stories with moving pictures. What is it about our nonverbal communication that can trigger other human beings into feeling like they have a very accurate assessment of what's going on in somebody's mind? And often we call that acting, because the performer does action, and that action triggers other human beings into a feeling that they totally know what's going on with that person. So I was training individuals and groups, companies in that work. And then I think it was during the dot-com crash that a company came to me and said, can you do the work you do with actors with other people as well in business? We've got some people in business who've got a really, tricky stories to tell to their investors. And you help with that?
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, I can help with that. And so I started in the world of business and politics, again, training people how to use their non-verbal communication, essentially to stand out, to win trust and gain credibility every time they speak. That's how I got there, and here today. Hey, here I am.
It's so funny because a lot of the time people, when I talk to facilitators on this show about how their careers formed, it seems like there's a general idea of what they want to do, but it's usually from a request, from saying yes to a demand like that. And so you accepted that opportunity thinking, okay, business people and actors, what's the similarity here? Now, this is usually a podcast, but today we are recording video because you get to see how Mark actually communicates. And this whole conversation came about because I interviewed Michael Bungay Stanier in Brisbane a few weeks ago, and he said, you've got to talk to Mark. You've got to see the way Mark uses his hands, and you've just showed me. So apologies if you're listening and you've got to see the video. Can you please talk more about use of your hands, particularly, I mean, as you're using them, I feel more lit up and energized just by the way that you're moving. Is that a strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. What I keep doing at the moment is moving my hands into what I call the passion plane. So that's up at chest height. That actually sends my heart rate and breathing rate up. That's just a natural thing that happens when your hands go higher. The heart has to do a harder job in order to bring blood to the fingertips, which is what it really wants to do, to keep these active and mobile and manipulating the world around us. And because you get theory of mind, you look at my behavior and your mirror neurons go, hang on, how would I be thinking and feeling if I were moving like Mark at the moment? Yes. You actually get triggered with the feelings that you think I'm having, and you project those feelings onto me. Now, I'm not necessarily having the feelings that you're projecting, but you believe that I am. They're actually your feelings, not my feelings. So I can see on your face as I increase that, yes, like you get even more excited, don't you?
Yeah. And I'm like, I had a coffee this morning, but that was a stupid idea. All I need to do is hop on a call with you every morning. I'll be like, yeah, ready to. I mean, that's an amazing skill that you've got. When did you discover that sort of superpower? How did you find out about this sort of stuff?
Okay, so it was when I was exploring the world of acting, and again, very clearly in the world of how we tell stories with moving pictures. And and how performance really works to that extent. So let me give you the example through this. My guess is you've seen award shows where actors get awards. Yeah, they get
Sure.
awarded for their acting. It's like, wow, because they're really good actors. And often it's because, well, they gave such an emotional performance. You know, their emotions were so true, and so here, have an award. I don't think they should get the award. It's the audience that should get the award, because here's what happens. When you, for example, watch a film, the emotion has stopped. It isn't there anymore. What you're looking at is a 2D recording of the external communication of that. Here's what happens. Your mirror neurons go crazy. If the actor has been clear enough and consistent enough, you mirror that external appearance. You model the emotion you believe they're having in your own mind, and then you project it onto them. And you go, wow, the actor is, you know, passionate or angry or upset or a psychopath or whatever it is. No, they're not. You are.
You are.
You are. That's you, not them.
So what do you, that's really cool. Like, just on that, so what do you find then when you, because two people can go into a movie and they walk out with two different experiences. One person says, I love that movie, I really connected with that character, and someone says, I didn't really feel it. What's happening there? Is that person's mirror neurons not firing in that moment, or what's going on?
So sometimes it's that either the plot of the film, the action of the film hasn't been related enough to one of those people, and they've gone, I don't get it. I wouldn't have done that in that situation. They're not like me. They're thinking a different way. And it's just they've kind of gone, they're not a hero for me. They're not a star for me. They're not a guiding light for me. Think about that. Stars are guiding lights in the sky, that in the darkness you can still navigate and get to where you wanted to be. And actors on a screen are the same guiding lights. We're watching those stars and we're taking the journey with them to an emotional places of decisions and emotions. And sometimes the journey is not clear. It's not a good actor. The plot isn't clear. It's not a good plot. Like, we don't get it and we're lost. And some of us get more lost than others. For some of us, we're like, no, I've been on part of that journey anyway, so I was there. For others, we're like, we're not on this journey at all. I don't know what's going on. And this is, they're older than I am, or they're a man, or they're a woman, or, they're transgender. It's like, I don't associate with the man or the woman or the transgender character. It's like, there's all kinds of things that we might go, yeah, I don't get it. So because we don't feel aligned with them, we don't join in that projection process that goes on so well. Sometimes the film is so good and the performance is so good, everybody experiences the same thing.
Yeah, that's when you sort of know you've got a blockbuster on your hands.
Yeah, and that's when they give them an award and go, well done for your emotional performance. It was the recording of the data required to trigger the majority of people into projecting that feeling onto the performer.
That is a really nice definition of what acting is, I think.
Yeah, well, so the important thing about acting is it's action. It's not thinking. That's philosophy. And so they don't give philosophy awards to the actors. They give acting awards because they did the action required to trigger the feelings. That's the important thing. And anyway, as you can probably hear and see from me, I'm obsessed and fascinated.
I know you can see it.
By this idea of what is the action you need to do in order to trigger other human beings into a set response around you. We often call that influence and persuasion in my world.
That's right. And I think let's bring it back to facilitation. I think this is a very nice segue in, because a lot of the people listening, myself included, day one of a workshop, brand new client, you have no idea. I mean, you've done a bit of research into what the audience is like, you've met with the client, got the objectives, and you're sort of stepping in, and you know that first impression is pretty critical. So you can create this really great mood to set the tone for the day. what are the participants thinking, I guess, or think about the facilitator? What are some things that we can do so we can make that first impression the best? Like, is it something that we can do with our body language? Like, what are some elements that we need to control?
Yeah, so the first thing we want to think about is, what do we want that impression to be?
Mm.
What do we want the moment they see us? What do we want to trigger in them? What brand are we trying to, what mark are we trying to make on their minds? That's the branding experience. We're trying to, heat embed an idea in their brain about us. And because of that moment of branding, they expect the rest of the experience to be within that brand. And so they start to now create an experience for themselves that fits that brand moment. So the first question is like, well, who do you want them to feel that you are?
Mm.
So I'm going to take a stab in the dark about that and go, for me, let's just say for me, I often want my audience or whoever's in the workshop, my trainees, people I'm taking through the meeting, I want them to understand that I am calm and assertive.
Yes.
Okay?
I think that's
calm and
great for that.
yeah, you're in the same gang. Yeah, calm and assertive. We could do some nuance later on of I'm entertaining and I'm exciting, but the main thing is I'm calm and assertive because I need to control this process to a certain extent. And we'll talk a little bit more about how much I need to control it and how much I need to pull back from controlling it. But first of all, I need them to go, you know what, it's going to be okay. Mark's here. This is going to be okay. He feels calm and assertive here. And so here's what I'm going to do around that. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be up in the passion plane here. Yeah, because they'll think I'm exciting, but they might go, what if it gets out of hand, or does he really know the content, or if we all get like that all together, it'll be mayhem. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do.
Plus, people are not like that usually. Like they're so used to just being keyboard warriors and not having that level of passion, right?
Right.
So yeah, that
right. It may be too much up front. They may go, uh-oh, this is so different from my, keyboard worrying that I don't know whether I can handle this. So I'm going to be calm and assertive. Here's how I'm going to do it. When they come in the room, I'm going to be sitting down and they're going to be able to see all of me. I won't be behind a table. They're going to be able to see all of me. And the way I'll be sitting, let me come back here a little bit so you can.
Awesome. Thank you.
See me. Okay. Hopefully you can see me and hear me still.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. So the way I'm going to sit is, it doesn't matter whether I cross my legs or they're, here, but I'm going to be sitting and I'm going to be doing open palm gestures at navel height, or I'll just have my hands over here. And I'll be having conversations with people as they come in and welcoming them. And I do that and I get into these social conversations with them. I'm going to be doing lots of open palm gestures at exactly navel height, just as I'm doing with you right now. Like you've walked into the workshop with me and I'm going, how are you? What's your day been like so far? Did you come far? What was the travel like? So I'm trying to do what we call a phatic conversation, which is just social transactions. Where you're from, how was the travel? But I'm being calm. I'm doing this calm, assertive body language. What I'm not going to do is what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to be there on my laptop, getting my stuff together. Like I'm so busy. Like I've worked so hard at this. I want it to be perfect. And I've got my PowerPoint ready, and I'm messing about with that, and checking the batteries in my remote control. And I want to be super calm and assertive with those open palm gestures at exactly navel height, so that it's going to be a really safe place to be when you're with me. Does that make sense to you, Leanne?
It does. The reason I'm laughing is that character you were playing, checking the battery, like that can be me sometimes. And like,
listen. Yeah, no, listen, no judgment, only alignment that we've all done that.
Yeah.
We've all been there. We've all been there. We will all go there again. And it's partly our job to do our best to stay out of that, knowing it's super attractive. It's super attractive as they come in to be seen to be nuancing a slide, just getting it perfect, busy, writing some notes. I'm just writing a few notes for the workshop, because
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing that. So like, how do you then, so what is your preparation process? Are you getting in like really early to make sure everything's set up? Or you've got help, or like, what's your strategy so that you are calm, Mark?
yeah. So I want to be in at least an hour beforehand. I want to take control of the room. I want to know, how do I govern the light? How do I govern the temperature? Where's the refreshment? Where's the food? I want to be in control of the fundamental things of being in that room. How's the seating? How's the seating set up? I don't want to be there going, well, this is what you've got given. So it's classroom style. They're all sitting behind tables, and that's it. And it's like, and you can't work the blinds.
Oh, no natural light. Oh,
right. And so, when I've got somebody going, gosh, the light's in my eyes, I want to be able to walk over there and go, let me just deal with that for you. It's a bit chilly in here. Okay, leave it to me. Let me sort that out. So, because here's what I want to be. I want to be like a god that controls the light. God says, let there be light. There is light.
You're the first person that's ever said that on this show.
A good God, not a God that's obsessed with themselves, a God that is obsessed with you being okay. That's the God I want to be. Like, are you okay? You need some water? Let me get it for you. Coffee, let's break for coffee. Oh, look, I broke at exactly the time that we arranged, and in comes the coffee.
I love that too. I'm a real stickler for that.
Yeah.
Making sure, like, I think it's just building that trust. Like, if you say there's going to be a break at a certain time and you honor that, it's key.
Totally. But do you know, and I'm sure you've heard this from our friend Michael Bungay Stanier as well, there is a drive to go, oh, you know what? I've got a great piece of information for them. Let's just go 3 minutes over. It's just 3 minutes over the break time, because it's going to be so good, and they'll love my 3 minutes of brilliance. And it's like, no, what's more important is you going, so I said we'd have a break at 10:30. It's 10:30 on the dot. We're going to have a half an hour break. Come back, whatever it says on your watch at the moment, or whatever device that you're using to tell the time, get back here in half an hour and we'll resume. Thanks very much. And that's it, 10:30.
Couldn't agree. High five, Mark. That's awesome. Yeah. Because we all want that.
So I want to get in there early so I can control the environment, not for my benefit, for their benefit. I'm only doing it for them. What would I want to do? I'd rather be at home doing nothing. Like, no, it's for my benefit. I mean, I get paid at the end of it. Yeah, absolutely. But everything's done for them.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Now, you talked about control, and previously you said, look, there's things that you should control and there's things where you need to relinquish control. Can you talk us through that? Because I think we can really work ourselves up as facilitators, thinking about these workshops and how we've got to make sure that we get the outcomes and people participate, and there's all that sort of worry in the lead up to it if you program new audience. So what is the balance of being prepared and like being godlike and making sure the breaks are on time? And then also, where do you actually sort of step back and let the participants play around and do their thing?
Yeah, I think as you go through the time, whether it's an hour or 3 hours or 3 days or whatever it is, all the way along, you're looking for, how much control can I give over? In fact, often in a one-day workshop that I might do, there will usually be a time in the afternoon where I just leave the room. I don't tell them I'm leaving the room. I'll just get something going and then I go. Yeah. And it's that thing of going, if I've done this right, they are now self-sustaining. They
Mm,
won't go, where's he gone? They won't notice I've gone because I'm not necessary anymore. That's the thing. I think I
mm,
start to know I've done a good job when they are now so comfortable with the material, so comfortable working with each other that they don't need me there controlling
mm.
this. And I'll head off for 5-10 minutes and come back in, and they won't. They'll often won't have noticed.
Because they're
And
so absorbed. Awesome.
they're so absorbed
Yes.
in their working group and the content and them and their work. Like they're absorbed in the work, and then they're loving and enjoying their minds, and each other, the social work that they're doing and the intellectual
Mm,
work
mm, mm,
that they're
mm.
doing, and sometimes the physical work that they're doing. So I'm looking for moments along the whole process where I can start giving out power, uh, you know, relinquishing power. And I often do that simply by getting them talking with each other right at the start.
Mm, mm.
So, because I think what we expect is, okay, so we're here for a meeting or a mark to educate us or to take us through this facilitate us, and we're kind of going, okay, my guess is he'll talk for 20 minutes before. And I'm like, the first thing I do is go, okay, so turn to the person next to you, just have a little chat with them. What do you most want out of the day?
Mm. I,
And the,
yeah,
the important thing about that is they get to be social with each other. They get to make requests, and I get a sense that some intelligence work on what do they think they're here for and what do they actually want out of me. So get
yeah.
them talking straight away, get him asking questions all the way through. Always, break them up, break them into groups, get them moving around, get them interacting with each other. Michael and I both talk about being more lazy. Just be lazy. Just the less work you can do, probably
I
the
love
better it
that.
is.
Yeah, well, I
Anyway, so
definitely, I
that's
knew
my
about his
take on
like,
it.
yeah, yeah, no, I knew, I heard about his lazy leadership stuff, but then I was like,
Yeah,
of course, then what you're saying now is like the fact that you can sort of make yourself obsolete by the end of the day, like lazy facilitation. Let's bring
yeah,
it back. That's
yeah,
awesome. It's awesome.
yeah. Being lazy, It's it's so great when you walk out of that room and go, God, great, I can just have a rest. They'll be all right. They'll be okay. Nobody will miss me.
No,
I'm
but
not.
just,
I'm not important anymore. It's
oh,
great.
but you're a god, Mark. You're a god.
Well, yeah, I'm a god. I'm a god that walks out of the garden and just goes, yeah, they'll be all right. They don't need any prizes or punishment from me anymore. They'll get on with it, and I can have a bit of a rest.
Fantastic. So, I mean, that's good to know that you need time to recharge because I was wondering if you're like this like all the time. And if so, I mean, does that get exhausting or have you got this sort of muscle memory because that's the way that you communicate? I mean, how do you feel at the end of a
Yeah.
workshop? I know I'm just sometimes pretty
Oh,
tired.
well, so for example, I don't do any driving, so I wouldn't be able to handle a vehicle after
Mm,
even an hour. If I do an hour's keynote, no
really?
way. I would. I mean, I'll be knocking stuff over, and my brain's so tired. And after a day, my mind is so tired
Mm,
that I've not got a lot of good motor function anymore.
wow.
It's pretty exhausting. So I've got a high energy level. It's very focused. Um, and so yeah, for a day there are times where I'm just like, okay, I got to shut down now. I got to make them do some work because otherwise it's very easy for me to fill the space and fill the air and fill the time, and it's easy, and I know they quite like it, but they won't like it as much when they come up with the content.
Mm, mm.
So I got to be careful. You got to be careful. From my performance training, I learned very early on exactly what those techniques were in order to channel the energy and not literally injure yourself. If the energy is not channeled, you'll get vocal injury, you'll get physical injury, you'll fall over, you'll knock into stuff. So I was pretty good at knowing how to channel that energy. And you see it in very young or new performers. Like,
Yeah.
they're all over the place. They're just all over the place. We see it in new facilitators. They're just all over the place. And they're either, and sometimes they're on or on off and on and off and on and
Yeah.
off. It's like
Yeah.
they haven't quite worked out how to move the vehicle around.
Mm. And in terms of getting into states, that's afterwards. You feel pretty knackered at the end of the day. You
Yeah.
can't drive. You've used all this energy, but it's been focused energy. How do you get ready for being on stage? Or I know with workshops you're calm, but when you enter a stage, I saw your TEDx talk and you entered. It seemed like you just had that confidence as you walked in. How did you get to that state? I know I've watched the doco on Tony Robbins, and he gets on the trampoline and does a bit of bouncing.
I don't have a trampoline. I look at that. Basically, I look at that with Tony Robbins, and I go, "What are you doing?
Well, do you know,
what are you what are you doing to do? Why are you doing that, man? Why are you doing that?" Anyway, he can do what he likes, but I don't do that. Look, I worked for years on how to switch on the energy and how to switch it off. Like how to it doesn't need. I don't need any other stimulation than just it's me. I got to be on. Well, it's not me. I can just be off. So there's that. Here's what I actually do. I want to do social stuff before. I want to engage an actual human being in some kind of conversation about just ordinary social stuff. You know, what are you up to? What are you doing at the week? What did you do at the weekend? What's going on? Tell me about your family. What films do you like? It's just because when you walk out on that stage, for example, I might walk out, in that TEDx speech, for example, there's 1,000 people there and I only know 2 of them. So that for your brain is like, wow, huge amounts of strangers. Some I can see, some I can't. And that'll trigger fight and flight. But if you can get in a social conversation with some people beforehand, you walk on there and you've got that feeling of, well, I know some people here. I got some friends here. I got some people I know, rather than they're all strangers. Because here's what will trigger in the fight and flight system. They're all strangers, therefore we can't predict them, therefore predict that they don't like us and they're our enemy, and start fight and flight, which will either mean you become very, very passive and you might even become still and your eyes will go wide like this and you're now in shock, or you'll become very, very passive and quiet and uneasy, or you'll become aggressive and push lots of energy at them to try and scare them away with your brilliance.
But you think, oh, it's just my excitement, but they're perceiving it a completely different way. They can sense that,
it's
right?
not your excitement. It's often your aggression.
Wow. Okay.
And you hear it in the tone of voice that people have and some of the words that they. Here's a great example. Have you heard speakers or people, workshop leaders or people who are running meetings, and they come after it and they go, "Oh, I killed it. Really killed it." What do you mean? It's not. They're an audience. You don't need to kill them. Like, why is there violence? So it's even in the language.
Yeah.
You know, and they're doing. Oh, I'm going to go on and I'm going to kill the audience. I'm going to kill it. It's like, no, you don't need to be so aggressive.
That's
already started.
Yeah.
That vocabulary of aggression.
It's really interesting because it's a very common phrase. I mean, I'm sure in Canada and Australia as well. And if you do a good job, everyone says, "Hey, you killed it." So you think it's a positive thing. But thank you for raising that.
Right, you knocked it out the park. All right, it's not hitting a ball. I wasn't hitting a ball. I'm not hitting them. I'm not like batting their heads. So there's a lot of very aggressive language that comes with business performance, essentially. And I, for myself, totally avoid that language. I totally avoid it in my head. Yeah, I totally avoid this idea of I need to be aggressive with the audience. Yeah, what I need them to do is to know it's fun and it's safe to be around me and they should step in and hang out, and it'll just be great because we're going to talk about really interesting stuff, that's fascinating. So we're going to be fascinated. So I'm more like, I'm going to go on and we'll be fascinated by this together. Nobody needs to die.
Okay. Beautiful word, fascination, I think. And that's a really key learning for me. I think it's just changing that language. And I love that you say that back to being God, that it's God in service of them. And so just on that note of body language, so we spoke about your personal body language and the passion plane. What about how frequently do you check for the body language of the people either listening to your speeches or participating in your workshops? And how do you manage both in terms of delivering your content and the activities and setting up the safe environment while also being cognizant of what's going on in the room? How do you pay attention to that?
Yeah. So here's what I do. There's usually too many people in the room to read any body language. And even if there are a few people, we're still not going to read it very accurately. We're going to default to negatives. That's just the nature of the way our instinct deals with body language. It has a negative bias. Okay. And I could go into why, but just for now, trust me. I've written 4 books on human behavior and body language. Trust me, your instinct has a negative bias. Okay. So here's what I do. I lead, don't read. I don't read the body language. Don't read it at all. Here's what happens.
Are you kidding me?
No,
That's
don't
amazing.
read it at all.
Wow.
There's no point. There's just no point. Here's what happens. Now, my instinct will try to. My instinct it's going to read lots of stuff and it's going to send me messages going, oh, look, see over there, they're bored. See that? Oh, they're tired. Look, they're yawning. They're tired. Oh, you see that one over there? They're checking their phone. It's because they don't like your content. And I think they're probably texting the boss of the company right now to tell you that this training is rubbish. So all of that would be going on. And here's what and it'll send me messages. Or it'll send me a message now and again going, oh, they're really enjoying it. They like you. Oh, spend lots of time with them. Hang out with them. Treat them even better because they really like you. Forget everybody else. They really like you. Spend lots of time with them. Yeah. So it will try and bias me, and it's using a part of my brain that's designed to save my life, not to educate and help people. Okay, that's a much newer part of the brain, only about 200,000 years old. So it's pretty damn new. Okay. So here's what I do. I use that smart part of the brain. And every time I get sent a message, I put at the end of it, maybe. So it's like, oh, they're bored. Maybe. Oh, they really love me. Maybe. So I just add perhaps, maybe, or sometimes I just go, I don't know, because my brain will go, well, what's happening over there? That's complex body language. What's happening with them? And I just go, I don't know. Yeah. And when you do that, when you go maybe and I don't know, it allows your mind to then go, you know what I'm going to do about it all? Stick to my process. I'm going to stay with the process. I'm going to stay with my plan. I'm going to stick to my plan and remain adaptable. If it feels like I should adapt, if I want to adapt, and I'll adapt because I'm getting direct communication. If I get a piece of body language and my mind is going, okay, everybody's bored. Everybody hates this. Everybody hates this at the moment. I'll go maybe, and then I'll go, should we check? Would it be valuable to check? Yeah. And so if I think, yeah, it'd be valuable to check, then I do it verbally. I go, so how are we all doing? How are we all doing with this content? Give me some feedback on it. Scale of 0 to 10, 0 being least, 10 being most. 10 being like, I'm super excited by this. Give me more. And 0 being, I wish I'd never shown up today. Where you're sitting right now with what we're talking about here. And I say, call out some numbers. You won't offend me. I've heard every number.
That's nice. That's a nice way to frame it.
If I'm getting lots of 4s and 3s, and it's like, okay. And then I'll go, so what do you want to do about it? So I remain lazy. I don't go, all right, okay, let me come up with some content.
Check my back pocket.
Let me go. Let me be better. I'm already one of the best in the world. I can't get any better. All I can do is go, well, I'm doing my best, and it's clearly not what you'd like or what's right for you, or it is what's right, but it's just too painful and hard. So it's like, what do you want to do? And sometimes people will go, well, could we have a bit of a break? Like, yeah, let's do that then. It's like, so now you're helping them manage the work. Yeah. And sometimes people will go, yeah, we're on an 8, we're having a great time. And then I have to go think to myself, God, look how bad you are at reading. Your instinct is at reading body language.
Well, so often,
Yeah.
like, I'm just amazed that you said this. And I think, because I actually threw this question, I said to listeners on my Facebook group, hey, I'm interviewing Mark, what kind of questions do you have for him? And they were all really around this reading your participants. We all think that that's really important.
Yeah.
And you're so right. There's certainly been some workshops I've delivered where at the end of the day, the person that I thought hated the workshop and was completely bored is a person that comes up and goes, I loved it.
I loved it.
I loved it. You're like,
So
what?
here's what we've got to remember. Look, it's not like I don't get that question a lot because people want to read other people's minds. They want to be mind readers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't blame them. Yeah. I would love that. I'm telling you, it's just not possible. It isn't possible. Our instinct is a 50-50 chance of getting it right. And it's biased towards going to the negative idea. Okay. Saves your life on a daily basis. You never want to change that. Okay. But it is not, your instinct around body language is a terrible facilitator, but it will convince you that it's your best friend, and it isn't. It's useless. Yeah? And take that from an expert.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just suspend, I call it suspension of judgment. You just keep suspending your judgment about other people. And if you really want to know, you ask. You use your words. And that's
it's so simple. It's so simple.
Look,
oh my gosh, I wish you were on like episode 1 or 2. Just
I would have saved everybody so much time.
You really, yeah. And also, but just the stress and the concern. It's like actually the amount of time we spend designing these processes so they are going to work. And all you got to do is ask. It's just design. I agree.
Trust the design, and if it feels like the design isn't working, or you're getting verbal feedback from people like this is not working for us, it's like, okay, good, thanks for that. What do you think we should do? So make it our problem, make it their problem. So I did my bit. I did my very best to construct something that I believed would work. It's not working. Help me. Yeah, get help from them. They're intelligent people. Make them do some work.
Absolutely. Lazy facilitation all the way.
Be lazy.
My new, I'm going to tell every client now, my philosophy is to be a very lazy facilitator.
You know what, Michael, and if people haven't heard the episode with Michael, I'm telling you now, I haven't heard it, but I'm sure it's brilliant because Michael's a genius.
It was brilliant. So I'm actually releasing it in February just to coincide with this new book. It was amazing. It was, and that's the thing.
So if this plays before that, look out for Michael's episode.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say that we spent many, many years facilitating together as a kind of a double act.
Wow, that would have been
a great time. We both learned huge amounts from each other. But one of the things that I would do is sometimes I'd sit there and just do nothing, watch him and do nothing. And I would think to myself, God, you're just doing nothing. At some point, somebody's going to go, Michael, why'd you have that guy with you who doesn't do anything? He doesn't do anything. And I'd be sitting there going, stick with it. Just calm, assertive, and do nothing. Just be there. Be the person in the room who can just totally be in this content and be comfortable just hearing the content, being with the content, hearing Michael, hearing other people. And now and again, I get a thing that I go, I really want to add something. I go, Michael, just let me jump in here and add something. And I'd add one thing. I'd maybe say one thing in what seemed like an hour. People would come up afterwards and they'd say, that thing that you said, I mean, that That was amazing. That was
But
really.
surely that would piss Michael off. He's like, I've been on here for 95% of the time, and
Yeah,
you say
yeah.
one.
I was thinking that at the time. He's going to get so pissed off that I'm doing nothing. But it worked, and he'd do the same for me. You know, I'd go off and start, constructing what was happening, and he'd sit there and watch or leave or walk out the room. Because he's not needed anymore. He feels like, and you'd like, okay, great. Michael's gone. He feels he doesn't need to be here. That's okay. And it's just that trust we trust our process. We trust each other. We trust that we'll speak out if it's not going right. We'll trust that we won't necessarily speak out immediately. Sometimes we'd go down alleys and you'd be kind of going, where's Michael going with this? Like, where's he off to with this? And you just go, just sit and see what happens. Just sit and see what happens.
I agree. I think, and also trusting yourself too, because like you said, we've got this bias just to think, oh gosh, things are going wrong, or I need to correct it. So it's just having that trust, which I guess comes through.
So I was going to say that Michael, I would always say, the thing that you most have to manage in any facilitation or meeting is yourself. That's the job.
Yeah.
The job is managing you. Managing you. You've constructed a process. You're taking them through a process to help them. And now you've got to manage you and your anxiety, taking them through that process. And that would be a lot of the job, is you're just going, okay, calm down. It's okay. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right with it. There's all kinds of messages hitting me at the moment. I don't know what they mean, but I know what I'm doing here. I've got a great process. Let's keep going. Keep going.
Your own biggest cheerleader. Now, Mark, just to wrap up the next final sort of few minutes, I can't let you go without talking about Lord of the Rings. You know that.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
What was your favorite? I've got all these questions from people coming in. What was your favorite memory? What did the director tell you? And you're playing an orc, right?
Yeah.
How did you prepare?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You can really take the lead on this question, but just something related to Lord of the Rings, playing the orc, the use of body language. What was that like?
Well, the interesting thing is I'd been preparing for that for months and months and months, because I'd actually been doing the West End show of it. So the West End of London, it's like, the Broadway of London, of England. And I've been doing the West End show of The Hobbit. And so I've been doing a lot of orcs and various monsters there as well. So I was very used to the voice and the physicality and because it's hard on your voice and it's hard on the physicality. The main thing about performing these things, and it's very similar actually to being a facilitator and a keynote speaker, is the work itself is kind of the easy bit. It's the stuff around the work. So, for example, when you're doing, big characters where you got huge amounts of makeup on, or you're in makeup for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
And your job is not to freak out. Your job is to just be able to sit there and go, it's fine. I'm just going to stay calm. It's like part of my job as a keynote speaker is to get there. And getting there is hard.
Yes.
And part of my job is to not freak out in the airport, because this is the 6th flight I've taken this week, and my body and mind can't take it anymore. And I'm not going to be the person like some people who are losing it at security, and it's the first plane ride they've been on that week, and they're already like, but I didn't have to take my shoes off in Chicago airport, so why do I have to take them off here? It's like, because it's a different airport. It's a different airport, and it's arbitrary. It's just take your shoes off or don't take your shoes off.
Make it easier for yourself.
Just because we've all got to get somewhere, and they're making the rules. And if you apply yourself to the rules, you get to go past the security. And if you don't, and it's the same for performance. There's difficult stuff around it. So, for example, with Lord of the Rings, for example, dialogue would change all the time. They were making it up as they were going along,
No
just
way.
making it up. Yeah, because the director is editing the previous film while shooting
The new
the one
one.
that's
Wow.
yeah, and so
So
two lots of monitors, and so sometimes because of the edit that's come through, it'll be like, okay, well, we're gonna have to add some dialogue. If that's the plot line now, we're gonna have to add some dialogue. And you can't be there going, you're surprising me with stuff now. Like how
I
do
memorized
you
my
expect me
lines.
to? How do you expect me to? Or I'm not saying that anymore. Or that's not happening anymore. Like what kind of thing are you running here? I'm running the most epic film ever made. That's what I'm.
I can't.
And
Do you know what?
we're making it up as we go along.
Oh my goodness. So I'm just so relating this to business life and everything. Like I think, like you said, it's a perfect sort of parallels with facilitation. But I know when you join, I've got friends that have joined these amazing big companies, and you think they're like that, just got their shit together, and they get into the
Right.
company and they're like, oh my gosh, it's chaos. But to hear that,
Right.
but I thought that surely a movie like Lord of the Rings, like they've got their shit together. And you're telling me
they've
that,
got some of it together.
yeah, but you're still just like iterating on the go, and that's so cool to hear. That is so cool.
Well, I think it's like any company. You bring people together who can read a plan, execute a plan, and remain adaptable.
Mm.
That's it. That's talent. The talent is to be able to go, okay, where are we going, everybody? Can you get on board? Yeah, I can be on the team. Can you self-manage yourself around reading the plan and getting on with it as a group? Yeah, totally do that. Just show me the goal and let's go get the goal. And if it seems like we need to do something different, we'll just do that. We'll make the best of it. We'll make it worse, but we'll make it work. And yeah, facilitation for me is a lot of that. Write a great plan and then execute that plan and remain adaptable. Be ready to drop the plan. We Michael and I would do that all the time. It's like we would have the plan. And we know very quickly, yeah, well, that's out the window. We're not doing.
Do you sort of just like get eye contact, or just go like, all right, no,
yeah,
and just like drawing, all right, let's do this. Okay.
Yeah, or you'd see Mike, Michael looking at the plan and then go, oh, okay. It's funny. I've got. I was working today on a plan for a workshop that I'm giving in the new year. So I decided to kind of redesign a storytelling workshop that I do. And so I've got my plan here, and like that's what my plan. That's what it looks like.
Wow.
Looks like that. And so it's just a model. I just thought about storytelling, and I went, based on what I know now, what would my model be? How do I think that world is built? And I drew a plan of how I thought that world is built and why it's built that way. And it's got 3 parts to it. So I'm just like, okay, so it's, I'm just going to split my time into 3 and go, here's this and here's this and here's this. So I will execute that plan, which is basically on a piece of paper. That's like exactly that. And I will keep on executing that plan until I have to do something different.
Exactly. I love it. I love the one plan on a page. It's like, you just look at it. What's next? Okay, I've got this. Yeah.
And it's about feeling secure with the plan and the content and your idea. For me, it's the model. It's like I try and make the complexity of communication. I try and make it as simple and as economic as possible. And therefore I try and boil something down to just one idea. And I go, if we get this idea right, everything else cascades out of that. Everything will be good, but we just need to focus on this thing. And then I just go into the workshop or facilitation. I just kind of hammer that idea. I go, let's just really explore this thing,
Amazing. I would love to get to one of your workshops. Please come to Australia. Sure, like Michael's already here, so.
Oh yeah, he's already there.
I'd love to get
We'll
you. I'd
set up
love
some
to.
kind of zip wire from Canada.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
just want to be in a room where you guys are just making it up as you go. I'd love to just be part of that and see
it's a lot of fun.
how that.
There's really, in the work that I've done within business, I've not really had a lot more fun than hanging out with Michael and working with him. And really, the work that we've done together really did bring on my abilities to facilitate and communicate. And I think, Michael often says the same. So
Yes.
that's always great.
Yeah, there's a lot of love between you two.
Yeah, a lot of love.
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much. This has been an amazing, really practical conversation as well. And you've really turned my perspective on quite a few things. So I can't wait to re-listen to it. If our listeners would love to reach out, buy your book, see what you're up to, where can we send them?
Yeah, so go to truthplane.com, TRUTHPLANE, truthplane.com. And I'm going to give you one more thing as well, which is bit.ly/winning keynote, bit.ly/winning keynote. If you go there, you can pick up a short piece of online training that I give everybody who's seen my keynote. So
Amazing.
go there, because all the stuff on body language, I've got it's about 15-20 minutes of video there, and you can learn that for free. So just make sure you go and grab that, okay? Get over to Truthplane.
Definitely going on there. Thank you so much for those links. We'll pop them in the show notes. You've been absolutely awesome, Mark. Thank you again.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I will come back and speak to you anytime you like.
Oh, lovely. Ta.